You're seeing, since Joe Biden took office, crime skyrocket all around the country.
PolitiFact. The violent crime rate today is near a 50-year low. There are fewer violent crimes now than there were in 1971 under Richard Nixon, despite a population that has increased by over 100 million people.
There's crime, there's violent crime, there's migrant crime. We have a new category of crime. It's called migrant crime, and it's going to be worse than any other form of crime.
Immigrants are less likely to commit crimes than U.S.-born Americans, studies find. Economist Rand Abramitsky found that since the 1960s, immigrants are 60% less likely to be incarcerated than U.S.-born people. There is also state-level research that shows similar results. Researchers at the Cato Institute, a libertarian think tank, looked into Texas in 2019. They found that undocumented immigrants were 37.1% less likely to be convicted of a crime. Recent investigations by the New York Times and Marshall Project found that between 2007 and 2016, there was no link between undocumented immigrants and a rise in violent or property crime in those communities.
And every quantifiable metric, our country is going to hell.
PolitiFact. The rate for rape fell between 2021 and 2022. PolitiFact. The national rate of aggravated assault has fallen on Biden's watch.
This is not the same state that we knew 10 years ago. Now, knew it was not the same state as we saw 5 years ago. You have total degradation of New York State.
Overall, the crime rate in major cities in New York has been dropping steadily since the pandemic.
And not a single New Yorker, as they look at murders in the streets, women getting thrown in front of trains, kids getting shot in Times Square, the degradation of this city.
Between 2020 and 2022, the violent crime rate shrunk by nearly 6%, with 2023 seeing an additional 4% decrease. This includes murder, rape, robbery, shootings, and grand larceny. For example, reported incidents of rape have dropped by 10.5%, and incidents of robbery decreased by 3.1% in 2023. In other words, Republicans have been lying about crime, among other things. Because in MAGA world, Joe Biden is destroying America, and we should all be terrified if President Biden gets reelected. And never mind violence and criminal mayhem, there is the economy. MAGA Republicans insist President Biden has destroyed it. More on that canard in a moment. First, the news conference in Manhattan, where Eric Trump lied about national New York crime, was the same news conference where he insisted his father, Donald Trump, had committed no crimes.
And I cannot wait for the day that we win. We will. We're right. The entire country knows that this is nonsense.
Did he say we are white? Let's replay that.
And I cannot wait for the day that we win. We will. We're right.
He did say we are white. I think he meant to say we are right. But talk about a Freudian slip. Good grief. It's as if the Trumps only think black people and Latinos commit crimes. Anyway, back to the Trump MAGA political crime of making things up about the state of our nation. I mentioned that crime is down to its lowest levels in 50 years. The U.S. economy under President Biden is up to its highest and strongest point in 50 years. The stock market just hit another record, with the Dow soaring above 40,000. 4 years ago, Donald Trump predicted that if Joe Biden was elected, the markets would crash. Well, since Biden has been in office, the markets have risen by 35%. Job growth is booming. The Biden economy in just his first 3 years in office created more than 15 million jobs. In Donald Trump's first 3 years in office, by comparison, pre-pandemic, Trump only created 6.8 million jobs. Biden created twice as many manufacturing jobs, the foundations of a strong middle class. Inflation is now in check. Food and gas prices are dropping, and by most accounts, the U.S. economy is the envy of the world. Here in America and around the globe, economists say the U.S. economy is much better under President Biden than it was under Donald Trump. So why do polls keep showing that Americans are not giving Joe Biden any credit? And why do 74% of swing state voters, according to a recent poll, say inflation is getting worse, even though it's getting better? A majority of Americans say their own personal finances are doing well, and even when the question is expanded to their state, voters say the economy has improved. But voters are convinced the U.S. economy is worse for someone, somewhere. And according to the polls, voters blame President Biden. And yet, as the Wall Street Journal reported this spring, there is nothing wrong with the economic data. The U.S. economy really is thriving in every way that can be measured. So the Republicans should be the ones panicking 6 months before the election. But they are not. And that's because the GOP has a not-so-secret weapon. Conservative media, led by Fox News, Newsmax, and a few other cable blowhards. The cable channels are not news. They are highly effective and free propaganda arms of Trump world. They almost always speak with one voice on any given topic, and the conservative media channels have been convincing Americans around the clock that even if voters are doing okay, the economy is in tatters, and the only person who can fix it is Donald Trump. Relatedly, conservative media lies about violence and crime. It is getting worse, they insist, when in fact, the crime rates are dropping, and migrants are less likely to commit a violent crime than people born in the United States. A year ago, the Fox News penchant for lying caught up with the cable channel. Fox agreed to settle a defamation lawsuit and pay Dominion Voting Systems $787 million. But Fox is still making a fortune, and not just from advertising. As Media Matters noted recently, Fox would still be profitable even if it had no advertising and only relied on cable carriage fees. By some estimates, Fox clears a 35% profit based on those monthly cable fees alone. And conservative viewers paying for cable depend on a steady diet of GOP propaganda. So Fox keeps delivering. And the lies about President Biden, the economy, crime rates, and much more keep coming. But there is a solution on the horizon, at least a temporary one. Democrats will soon be dropping $1 billion in campaign advertising all across television, cable, and digital airwaves. The ads will highlight what Fox and others will not cover. The economy is strong, crime rates keep dropping, and America is becoming safer and more prosperous by the day. The election, of course, may still be close because some Americans will continue to believe the GOP and conservative MAGA moron lies. But lies come with a price. The truth comes with a payout. And in 2024, despite all the seedy efforts of the Trump family, Fox News, and MAGA lawmakers, the truth will prevail. By the way, there are still at least a few journalists at Fox who are willing to tell the truth and correct Donald Trump's nonsense.
Truth Social in the last 24 hours, the former president seems upset that his lawyer, when it comes to closing arguments, his lawyer has to go first and then the prosecution goes second. Doesn't the state always go last? That's what he's upset about.
Yeah, that's New York law. Different states are different. He gave that posting, and that's not the case. Under the law, the defense goes first, then the prosecution goes. Also claiming that the election expert Brad Smith was not allowed to testify. That is not true. Smith's testimony was restricted by the judge, but it was Trump's defense attorneys. Trump's own side decided not to call Smith. The president claiming something that is, again, false.
Check out that video at the link below. It generated a lot of comments on YouTube. One of the most popular is from Nicole Howe, 1742, who wrote, "Trump needs to go to jail." I hear you. I look forward to reading your comments about the MAGA maniacs who got busted, at least in this video, lying about crime and about the economy. I'm David Schuster. Thanks for joining us.